Welcome. In this edition of Down to Earth, we would focus on some of the important developments which mainly pertain to fecal sludge treatment management and then the unusual monsoon patterns for this year. So here, the first topic is fecal sludge treatment plants, and there has been the scheme under the Amrit Mitra program where women self-help groups have been formed in the regions of Uttar Pradesh, and there are efforts which have been done, and this would bring in extra household income for the families as well. So this is a case study which is based on that. The next is 2024 is a year of unusual monsoon patterns. We have seen extremely heavy rainfalls in the month of August across India, landslides in north as well as south India along with the northeast part, and mainly it has been attributed to the La Nina phenomena. We have already talked about the GCM, the general circulation models, in the previous class, and this is an extension of the same. So the cooler phase of El Nino is what is known as La Nina, and it is believed that because of the same weather changes, September would be relatively less wet as compared to the previous months. Now, another important aspect that we have seen is the legal challenges being faced by European Union, and that is the non-profit Climate Action Network Europe and the Global Legal Action Network, which has initiated the proceedings against European Union, focusing on the fact that the climate targets are not sufficient and have not been sufficiently met. Then Brazil, we had already talked about the tipping point concept in the Amazon rainforest, and it was believed that once the Amazon rainforest reaches the tipping point, then it would automatically start to destroy itself. This year has seen the highest number of fire hotspots in the region of Amazon basin, with nearly 38,000 fire hotspots seen. Now, so far they were attributed to natural cause, but this is for the first time it has been attributed to human induced causes in many of the cases, and there has been a significant increase in the number of forest fires and endangering species, mainly the jaguars, parrots and giant anteaters in the region. The next is the protests worldwide by the youth. Now we have seen protest for inflation, for rising food price, for insecurity, for unemployment. Bangladesh, we have seen students protest. West Bengal, we are seeing students protest for safety of women. Kenya, we are seeing Generation X, which has pressurized the government to withdraw the new tax proposals that has come in. And we have seen similar developments in most of the nations across the globe. So most of the issues are driven by the youth, and it is bringing in massive movements. So between the last 1 year, from 2021 to 2022, there have been nearly 12,000 protests across 150 countries, which are mainly centered on food shortage, inflation and rising energy cost. Now again, there have been an important role of social scientists to play, because Indian Labour Organization has talked about the growing relentlessness among the youth for unemployment, which is not a temporary issue, and again the economic meltdown has been attributed to it. Again, role of automation and AI and linking it to loss of job market, labor market has been attributed. We have covered a separate answer writing on the impact of rising AI on labor markets in India and developing nations. Now there has been a survey which has been published, which talks about the data analyzed from nearly 1 million people across various countries, and it talks about individuals under 40 are more inclined towards informal political activities than over 40 years, and the youth are becoming disillusioned by the performance of the democratic institutions as compared to the other set of groups. The next is Mpox. Mpox outbreak has been attributed in the regions of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, but this year has witnessed a very huge outbreak affecting nearly 1 lakh people across 122 nations, and Congo has received only 99,000 vaccine doses for European Union, and it is expected that another 1 lakh doses would be delivered shortly. Now, United States has kept a huge amount of smallpox vaccine as biological welfare for biological warfare purpose. However, it has provided a very few percentage of that to Africa. This issue again has been criticized a lot. Now, if you look onto the WHO imagery, you can see that there are maximum cases which are confined in the regions of Democratic Republic of Congo, but there are other cases in the nearby and the regions of South Africa as well. India has also received cases of mpox recently in Malappuram. Now what we have to understand is the clade 1, which was the lastly endemic to the regions of Central Africa. Then clade 2, which is only from men to men through sexual contact, has been found in West Africa. And then we are fearing about mainly the clade 1b, which is more clade 2b, which is more contagious and can spread through contaminated surfaces as well. Now what is the main issue? Why the regions have been the epicenter and there have been constant resurgence? First is there has been no preventive measures. There have been always relaxations in the preventive measures to end smallpox vaccine, which was lastly seen in 1980. Then the human encroachment has increased in the animal habitat where in the regions of Congo and Nigeria, and then there is greater international mobility which is started from Africa, which has led to the virulence being spreading globally. Now Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the poorest nations with 70% of the population living below extreme poverty line as reported by World Bank, and the sanitation and health and hygiene facilities are extremely on the lower side and needs to be improved. Now global inaction has also been one of the major issues which have been brought, because WHO has raised it as a public health emergency for international concern, and only after this has been raised, UNESCO has started to work for the cause. There has been no vaccine as such for mpox, but yes, smallpox vaccine has proved out to be significantly effective, and the emergency tenders have been issued for vaccine 15 days after the public health emergency of international concern has been declared by UNICEF. Now Africa has been learning this lesson that there has been lack of supplies of vaccine, and therefore Africa is trying to prepare its all 29 nations on one front to hope for development and bring changes in the local levels. The next is in Karnataka, the red jackfruit. So far we have talked about yellow jackfruits, and Tumakaru district in Karnataka is one such district where you see 20 different varieties of red jackfruits. Now these jackfruits have lesser sugar content, higher fiber content, and therefore are considered relatively better. It's only 2000 hectares of land in Karnataka where this red jackfruit is seen, and it offers very unique taste and nutrition profile. Now again there are two important varieties which are custodian to this region: the Sidhu variety, which was discovered in 2017, and Shankara variety in 2019. This has higher levels of phenols and flavonoids as compared to yellow varieties and have higher antioxidants. Similarly, it has less sugar, and the Brix value is 26, which for the new varieties around 21. What is Brix value is important. So Brix value is how much sugar is present, the dissolved sugar is present in a liquid solution in this case. So the regions of Doda Balapur in Bangalore is one such region where cultivations of Sidhu and Shankara variety takes place. The next is the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanisms, CBAM. Now this has been again a very important topic, because India has constantly been putting arguments that United States and UK are violating the principles of common but differentiated responsibilities which have been given under the Paris Agreement. We have discussed the CDR, the common but differentiated responsibilities, in detail in one of the separate lectures on Kyoto Protocol. So just refer that for more information. Now again, it's important that EU is talking about Fit for 55. That means European Union is trying to bring in a plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030, and that is one of the targets that European Union tries to achieve. The similar issues have been brought by developing nations, and the trade facilities have been included for the same. But the most important thing that we would understand is the discriminatory fee through which India has been raising the issues. Now what is the main idea? If European Union imports the iron and steel, crude iron from India, it has to pay nearly $22,000. However, if the same does whereas from United States it's only 10,000, and that is because of the higher production emissions from India, and that is the reason India would be having higher discriminatory fee and a higher load. The same happens for aluminium products from China, and this has been always raised a query with. Now European Union has directed the carbon border adjustment mechanism revenues in decarbonization funds for cleaner manufacturing in the exporting nations, like the European Union Modernization Fund. Now India is trying to start its own carbon market. India's CCTS is aimed to start by 2026 because India promises to reduce the emissions under Paris Agreement by 45% by 2030 and net zero by 2070. So with this in line, this body has been created. The CCTS allows company to offset the emissions through voluntary carbon markets, and therefore the steps under which this has been followed, the compliance cycle has been given here, and it's expected the scheme would start in 2026. Highly important for your upcoming GS examinations and also for your paper 1. Now, what are the important recommendations for the same? First is to have a single nationwide carbon intensive sector, have a stable high carbon price, improve the data and transparency, generate more revenue for smaller businesses, include thermal power. And from this there has been very important global lessons which mainly talks about setting the targets, lowering the price for carbon credits, not imposing any kind of penalties, and excluding thermal power plants from the same. Now the next is, so this status talks about the market status for emission trading. Now the next is the forests and the trees and the leaves and the stems are being significantly affected by heat waves and climate change. So 2010 study has talked about 88 cases of forest mortality which is caused by either water stress or heat stress since 1970. Amazon rainforest is one of the worst affected cases, and many of the species which are mainly mangroves, mountain forest, grass, bamboos have been affected because of it. So the leaves have shown lesser temperature threshold. Now again, evergreen species have higher temperature tolerance as compared to deciduous. So evergreen examples include mango, eucalyptus, in contrast to deciduous which is neem, almond. So they have lesser tolerance to heat variety. Now what we understand is T50, that's the leaves efficiency, which decreases to 50% is a crucial threshold. Now beyond if that it goes, then it would lead to death and tissue necrosis in the leaf, which is ultimately the thermal safety margin we can say for the leaf to be maintained. The similar is P20, which is the conductance, potential decline by 50% in conductance, which would lead to hydraulic vulnerability and ultimately affect the soil. Now what happens on a good day, the plant would actually pull water from the soil, but on a drought day what would happen, the soil would pull water from the roots of the trees, and as a result the trees lead to embolism and ultimately the death of the tree. The next is ozone hole and the role of Montreal Protocol. So Montreal Protocol talked about checking the ozone depleting substance. We have covered a separate lecture on Montreal Protocol, extremely important, and we have found out the reasons for decline in the ozone depleting chemicals, specifically the hydrofluorochlorocarbons. The ozone layer is at around 15 to 35 kilometers above the Earth's surface, and this layer has witnessed ozone hole. We are talking about the ways under which the impact of CFCs can be reduced so that free chlorine radical is not present in the upper atmosphere, which binds with oxygen and therefore breaks the formation of ozone layer. So severe ozone hole in the tropical stratosphere has been found, and this has become a really challenging problem. Now what happens, the greenhouse gas emissions can cool the upper atmosphere and increase the efficiency of chlorine, and that would lead to higher depletion of ozone. Now thinner ozone would expose the polar areas with more ultraviolet rays, and as a result there would be higher reabsorption of the ice sheets, which lead to higher melting of the glaciers, and ultimately the climate change phenomena is induced, which leads to rise in the sea level and ultimately death of the surrounding flora and fauna in the region. So this has become an emerging risk. Now the last important topic that we would discuss is the Chipko movement. Now Chipko movement started in 1973 in Uttarakhand, and this was in response by the Garhwal Himalayan community. Actually got inspiration from the Bishnois community, and here the Chipko movement, a people's history, has been written by historian Shekhar Pathak, and it talks about the ecological and feminist interpretations of the Chipko Andolan, which started in 1977 to 79. Vandana Shiva has described this incident as a feminist movement in one of her books. So how young generations are now moving to cities for better life and development has been discussed. Now many tribes have gone vulnerable. One of the most important tribes is the Shompen tribe in the regions of Nicobar Island. Similarly, we are talking about the government restrictions on sugar being exported, and this was to curb the rising prices of the sugar. But now that would be used for ethanol production, which would be sent for rice industries, right? The next is in Assam, near a wildlife sanctuary, Vedanta Group is trying to explore options for oil discovery 13 kilometers from the sanctuary, which is home to hollow gibbons and Bengal slow loris. So again, very, very important. Then three important cyclones and typhoons hitting the regions of Japan, Vietnam and China. One was the Shanshan, the next was Yagi, and the next was Bebenika. Three of these typhoons recently hit the region. The next is the new mRNA vaccine for lung cancer. The vaccine is called as BNT116, and this has been tested on nearly 130 people across different countries, and it is mainly for the lung cancer, which is considered as one of the leading causes of deaths from the various cancers across the globe. The next is dead fishes being removed from the coast of Volvos in the Greece, and this is because of the mass dying of the fishes near Lake Karla due to heavy rains and heat waves which have affected the region, and this has also led to closing of the tourism in the vicinity area. So those were some of the important topics that we have discussed for Down to Earth. Stay tuned for further updates and regular sessions for Down to Earth Yojana Kurukshetra from our side. Thanks for joining in.